I asked before, how many of you are programmers? How many of you are not programmers? And I am going to show you very quickly a couple of insights around programming and around Hello World. We are going to do Hello World and talk a little about my main skills are around Python, C++, and C#. So sorry about the crappy demo, sorry about the bad animations. And how many of you know why? Do you know Hello World? Do you know why we use Hello World in the programming world? Every time, long story short, every time that you want to do something, you want to learn a new programming language, or even in the Power Platform, you do what is called a Hello World. And it all came back to 1972, where there was a mention in a programming language. It was called B. You know what is the next language after B?
C.
Of course, yes, and that's where we find the first official sample of Hello World. And this was in the 1974, so it's older than myself, which is a lot because I am very old. But this was also about, I don't know how many knows, Richie is one of the fathers of C++. We owe a lot to this person. Really, really a lot to this person. And this was the first time that someone used Hello World in a book in kind of an official way. So we need to go back to the 78 to see something like this. But what is cool is that this is what we do. This is the Hello World. This is the first thing that we usually do in a language. This is the lines of code that we do. So this is C. This is standard C. How many of you know C? Why do you know C? Don't do C, man. You are young. You need to go for Python, JavaScript, or something like this. Real question. What are you doing with C?
It's the first language we taught the students.
Okay, so the first language is C. Okay, someone has a different experience with C. Someone is doing, because in example, we use C++ a lot. And Pete is going to show you this later, in the IoT world. Every time that you are going to program very small devices, every time that you're going to work in the Internet of Things world, C++ is usually the main language. Otherwise, I don't understand why. Learning C, it's nice. I love as a language. I work in embedded system during 4 years of my life. This was the time where I really learned how to program. But I don't know, I will probably don't use C as a programming language to learn to program. But someone else is doing C for something different besides learning to program? No? So C, C++, kind of evolution of C. We have more amazing stuff here. Then Python. How many of you know Python? I'm guessing that everybody who is doing, yes, the programming challenge, the gaming challenge today is know Python. And that's it for the slides. I'm a programmer. Let's do some code. So C, as an example, let's open this. Let's open editors. So this is the code in C++. By the way, I'm going to use Visual Studio Code. How many of you use Visual Studio Code right now? Great. If you are not using Visual Studio Code, give the tool a try. It's a free tool. It's amazing. There is plenty of extensions. You can do JavaScript, Python, C++, C#, TypeScript, plenty of languages in a single environment. And because we have a lot of extensions, we have a lot of features in the tool, it's make your life easier. So in example, I love this little guy here in the bottom. This guy is called, do you know him? GitHub Copilot. So GitHub Copilot is an extension for Visual Studio Code that basically is a machine learning model. It was trained with with petabytes of codes available in GitHub, and it's a machine learning model that is going to read your code and is going to basically suggest an autocomplete, but it's not a standard autocomplete, it's much more intelligent for this. So in example, if I go back here to this code and let's delete this, and I do write hello world, it's going to suggest me to do an include. This is the IO string that we use in C++. to access to basically to the console, and then it's going to start to use a using namespace. Doesn't make sense because we don't have this here, but hey, it's starting to give me possibilities here. It's starting to give me a couple of things. I can even ask Copilot for more solutions. So after the write hello world, it's going to start to give me some solutions. It officially works with a couple of languages. It works with JavaScript, Go, C#, and I can't remember the others, Python, and the other. C++ is not in the official languages, supported languages, but because there is a lot of code in GitHub in C++, it's also working in C++. So going back here, I'm not going to use this. Let me go back here, tack, 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 tack. This is the standard hello world that we have here. We have a main, we have a cout, we want to create out hello world from London, and we are going to end this. No very fun story here. Also, C++ is a very, C++ is a very hard language. It's a very strict language. I don't know if you are using this in an environment like Windows, where you are going to be very careful when you're managing memory, because you're going to have memory leak, you're probably going to have some blue screen of the desk because you are accessing memory which is not protected. It's a nice language, but it's probably not going to be my first suggestion to program, because you need to spend a lot of time just to get here, just to get to the hello world from London. Which are the options that you have there? Okay, we can do stuff in example, Python. Python is a much more friendly, user-friendly language. We have hello world, print, and message. That's it. This is hello world in Python. Couple of cool things about Python. And you told me that you already know Python. So, okay, Shanna Matthews, let's do this. Let's do a variable here, which is reactor is equal true, true. And let's ask Copilot, switching to Python, is true, then message should be in Spanish. What I am going to do is ask Copilot, okay, pick up reactor, it's a Boolean variable. If reactor is true, then change message to hello world in Spanish, suggest me this, and there it is, it's doing Hola Mundo. Yo hablo español, así que esta parte la entiendo. I speak Spanish, so I understand this. If I change to French or French a little, but to other, there it is. A couple of things, interesting stuff here. Cool things about Python, or not cool. In Python, we don't have curly braces. We basically organize our code using spaces or tabs. It's important that if I do this, we are going to have a problem here and it's not going to work. Also, Python is one of the most dynamic and amazing languages that we have, very close to JavaScript, where you can define here a variable, which is going to be a string here. Then we define a variable which is going to be a Boolean. Then we have here a variable that is going to be the same but in Spain, and we print in this. Let's run this to see how it works. So let's go for, terminal. So I am in hello Python, and let's do, I can't remember the name of the file, hello world. So let's do Python, hello world, and we have here in the bottom the Hola Mundo, but I can easily do this in Python, which is super amazing. I can change this, which was a string at the beginning, to a number, and if I run this again, it's going to give me a 3. So Python, we don't have typed variables here. I love this and I don't love this. Why? Because in Python, because you have all of this flexibility, this is amazing to work with data, this is amazing to work with numbers and to manage a lot of stuff, but we have some, this is not the fastest experience. We have some performance that if we want to do the same in C++, we are not going to be able to do this, but it's going to be much more faster. Also Python, right now is not compiled. I am using the Python executable to run this file, And so there is a lag there of the performance issue, if you want. It's not an issue. We are basically sacrificing performance to work like this, but hey, it's great. We can do plenty of things here. And I love how well you can work with Python. 2 days ago, I was here at Reactor showing how you can create from scratch an SDK to fly a drone. We put a drone there, we fly a drone, and I write the code directly here, connect to the drone, open a socket connection, send UDP commands to make the drone fly, connect to the camera, do some face recognition, object recognition, all in Python. It's a super, super dynamic word, and it's super popular today. I think it's in the top 3 more popular languages. So if you are going to choose programming and you like to try stuff and learn and these kind of things, this is a super, super popular language to start. And also the community in Python is amazing. I love my Python colleagues. It's super great. Sorry about that, they're calling me. It's super great. The other friend here that we have, part of the demo, is C#. This is C# in the old days. So this is a standard C#. Let me make the code a little smaller so we can take a look better. So this is a standard C# program for a hello world. Big difference with Python. We have here, this is basically the Python lines of code, and everything else is foundation, the stuff that we need to do. We need to organize our code in namespaces, then inside the namespaces we're going to have classes. These classes can have function, in this case the main function is going to be called when we run the application, but this is our main application and we are writing 13 lines of code just to get this. So don't get me wrong, I love C#. I've been programming in C# since the early 2000s, from the beta. I did most of my career on C#. It's an amazing language, but has plenty of things to do. So if I go here and everything is organized using curly braces, so if I do this, I will start to have some errors here. We can go here and take a look that, hey, we're expecting to close the curly brace, so we are doing this. Same with the amazing, same with the semicolons. I'm not going to use the mouse anymore, sorry. If every time that I write a sentence, I need to end my sentence with a semicolon. I don't have a semicolon, so I'm going to have an error. So plenty of things to do here, plenty of stuff. But in the latest versions of C#, we have a new way to do this, which is this. That's it. One line. We don't need namespaces anymore. We don't need classes anymore. We can directly write the code that we want, and this works. Let's make this work so you can take a look how it works. So let's also open a new terminal and change the CD. This is hello C#. Oh. I am hello C#, let's do this, and .NET run. So I am running the app here right now, and I should get the hello world printed in the terminal in a couple of seconds. Again, right now, I'm not doing much here, but let's add some magic. Let's see how the variables work here, and this is what we have. So I have a string here, message, hello world. There it is. If I take a look here to my string, we are going to see that it's a string, so I cannot do this, what I did before. Let's do a bool, reactor is true, and let's use Copilot here. Let's ask again if reactor is true, then message should be in French. Let's see how it's doing. So it's going to do if reactor, this is Copilot. This is not if reactor is true, it's going to do message Bonjour Monde. Sorry about my French. But again, conditions here, close by curly braces, we have semicolons, we have strings. And hey, if I run this, and because reactor is true, if I go back here, CLS, there is no double CLS, come on. if I run this again, I should have the message in my terminal of Bonjour Monde, and because this is a typed scenario, I cannot do this. I cannot go here for 3 because I am going to have a problem here that cannot convert integer to a string. So it's a little more strict as a language, but it's super cool. And sometimes when you have this strict version of a language like this, when you have type definition, because you are be able to avoid a lot of errors at runtime. Before you are detecting this basically when the IDE is compiling the code, you are not going to be able to run this. There's a problem there. In Python, in JavaScript, you're probably going to have problems here with this. But hey, this stuff happens. And by the way, I use here a string. I have another way to define variables here, which is var. And this is going to automatically understand that this is the message is a string, so it's going to do this. And if I change here var, and instead of doing a string, I add a number, message is going to be automatically recognized as an integer. So there is some flexibility in C#. You can do crazy stuff in C#. I'm not a very fan. I like to use C#, kind of a static language. If I want to go to something more dynamics, I will probably go to JavaScript or Python. But it's super cool. It's super cool, and there is a lot of. It's 20 years of programming experience here in C# that you can do. So anyone is doing something? Anyone tested C#? Anyone is using C# for something? Yes. What can you share? What did you do?
WTF.
Oh, good times. Yes, C# is mostly used in Windows development for WinForms, with WPF, or even Universal Windows apps. And right now we are also using C# a lot in other environments because, by the way, the latest version of C# can run on Linux, can run on Windows, can run on Mac, so you can do plenty of stuff in different environments. And it's a super cool language. I mean, I came from the C# world and I really love it. And finally, we have 8 more minutes. Let's go to, Java no. JavaScript, sorry. Let's go for JavaScript, which is basically, I don't want Java, which is basically the language of the web. How many of you know JavaScript? That's cool. Are you using JavaScript in plain mode, or are you doing Node, or are you doing Angular, React, and something like this? JavaScript is amazing. JavaScript is almost everywhere. I don't like JavaScript because it's too complex. There are so many frameworks. I always learn something and I have the feeling that as soon as I'm here, I already have 25 more stuff to learn. That was my feeling a couple of years ago. I really appreciate that right now the communities are getting better. Everything seems to be much more organized, but there's a lot of jokes around, hey, JavaScript, if you're going to do something, example in Node, and you do npm install, get out, have a coffee, chat with your friends or whatever, and then come back in 10 minutes or 10 hours because it's going to be a long process. But it's a super useful language. And I love it because it's a mix of what we just seen. It has the flexibility of Python, but you can also do stuff using curly braces, and you have the semicolons, and this stuff should work. It's a crazy language. I mean, I love it. Let's do hello JavaScript, and let's here do node hello world. So I'm going to run this. It's going to do, I have a variable there, messages. I'm going to do a console log of the message, hello world, but you know what? I'm going to do this. I'm going to do this. I'm going to run this again. It's going to run again because JavaScript is like this. Add a semicolon, don't add a semicolon. That's fine. It doesn't care. I mean, it's amazing. Let's do a reactor equals true with semicolon and add here. This is yes. If reactor show the if reactor is true, should be in Portuguese. So if reactor, Hola Mundo. Oh, this is amazing. So we have here, again, is working, and basically, take a look at this. Even the suggestion doesn't include semicolons, but it's working, and if I have here, go for the hello world, we have Hola Mundo, and this is JavaScript. You can do these kind of things. Of course, it's flexible, but not flexible enough that if I open a semicolon and I don't close the semicolon, I'm going to have some problems there. I can choose to not to use semicolons, which is kind of nice, and then it's going to work. Clean it. So there it is working with Hola Mundo, but it's a it's an amazing language because it's super flexible, but in the other side, because it's so flexible, sometimes you find code that, oh my God, it's super hard to read, it's not very well structured. You have places where you use semicolons, not semicolons. You can type here some stuff. If you are planning to use JavaScript in a typed environment, there is a language that's called TypeScript, and it's literally amazing because it's a wrapper on top of JavaScript with types. So Angular is writing TypeScript. It's really, really great. And hey, I will strongly suggest everyone to at least do your hello world in JavaScript because it's everywhere. You're going to find plenty of languages. I think in Stack Overflow, Python and JavaScript are probably 80% of the content there with this, and I like it. If you're going to do web stuff, that's a must-have. If you're not going to do web, but you are planning to use Node or other technologies, JavaScript is already there. And because we are talking a lot about Web3 right now, JavaScript is a key part, and most of the new